I beat you.
Oh, baby. We are live. Episode number 89 of the Shant and Ari podcast. Huffing and puffing over here. Fresh out of surgery. I got no
Oh,
stuff in my nose.
that's why you're a little nasally.
Buddy, I got so much shit packed inside my nose right now. I don't have the actual stuff anymore,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there's still some plastic in there and just a ton of gunk.
How annoying was it with having the stuff in your nose?
Bro, I was choking in my sleep.
Like
I don't want
you're,
to say anymore in case like people are on like the verge of wanting to get the deviated septum surgery, but it's it was definitely interesting sleeping for the first night or two.
have you been going to work?
Yeah, I've been out of breath though. I've been like
When did you have the surgery and when was your first day back?
so let me so Friday morning was my surgery and it was at 6 o'clock in the morning. So I woke up 5 a.m. You can't eat anything, you can't
Yeah,
drink
yeah.
anything.
Just
I took
fine
an
for me.
Uber, brand new Toyota Highlander, beautiful,
Nice.
fantastic. Got dropped off.
You probably asked him about like what deal he got and stuff, like, right? You're probably so annoying. What's your
Because he
terms
just
like,
got the
bro?
thing, like you could tell, like brand new
Yeah.
license plates.
What's your terms like, bro?
Nah, he definitely bought that thing. He probably got railed. Um, but so yeah, I got to the hospital, whatever, checked in. 1 hour later, I'm sort of like in the operating room, like waiting area, and like, bro, it was the weirdest thing. Like I had an IV in me, and like they were doing some stuff, and like they're like starting to walk me out, like roll me out or whatever. And the guy's like, "Oh, like what do you do for work?" As soon as he asked me, "What do you do for work?" It's just I don't remember what the fuck happened. As soon as he asked me that, I remember a few minutes later, what seemed like a few minutes later, waking up and being like, "What happened?"
It's crazy how you just knock out and like you wake like it's insane. They do so much to your body and you just don't even know what the hell's going on.
Bro, every time I get asked now, what do you do for work? It's gonna be like one of those things. I'm gonna just remember like the what happened after right before surgery, dude. It was the weirdest experience ever. But I'd
So
gotten
what
knocked
day?
out before.
Yeah, what day did you go back to work? This is important because this is going to be. I'm going to try to spin this to our. You're going to do it, but like into our podcast topic episode today. But when did you go back to work?
So I was back on Tuesday morning, but I was actually working Monday morning on my YouTube stuff.
Okay. Okay. So keep that in mind, everyone. So go ahead, go on with your story, Swan, because this topic's not going to be about Adi's nose job.
I literally can't breathe right now. Um, so Friday, Saturday, they were very, very busy at the store. Um, so I felt kind of bad. I'm like, you know what? I'll come in on Tuesday, kind of help out with like the caterings and stuff. Good news though, there's been a lot of office caterings and stuff like that
Nice.
happening.
Nice.
Definitely, economy's making some sort of comeback right before the next fucking recession because of the gas prices and all this shit. But yeah, it's been an interesting last couple of days. I'm going back on Friday so they can remove all this plastic though.
Okay. So I've been through two of the surgeries you've had. Okay.
Oh
I
boy.
don't think it's like it's advanced that much. That's like it's a cupcake thing, the recovery that you're just like back the next day. So the fact that you had to get back to working Monday when it was a Friday surgery, I was out for probably a solid 7 to 10 days of like, I don't want to do anything when I had the surgery. So, and that's going to tie into our podcast topic if you want to lead into it, whatever, but that's kind of has a lot to do with what we're going to talk about today, I think.
Yeah. It's sad. It's sad not being able to fully check out of work. But I guess it's also a good thing in the sense that you're constantly keeping your finger on the pulse of business. But what I wanted, what what came up in discussion and what we wanted to talk about in this podcast episode was what type of person who should be getting into business, as in what characteristics make up a good candidate for basically for somebody that wants to start their own business or get into business altogether. Um, because I wasn't that many years back. Never did I even picture myself to be that. And I'm not going to define who you were or who you thought you would be, Shant, but
Well,
I
when
never considered you a candidate for starting your own business either.
when I told you I was getting into this originally, I remember the phone conversation. I remember it vividly, and we were talking, and you're like, "You sure you want to?" Like,
I
there's
was
nothing that.
hesitant. I was hesitant to tell you
Yeah.
that it's
But you were doing like you were just like, "You sure, bro? Like, you want to try something else?" Like, you know. So
scary.
yeah, it is. And so if you're sitting there thinking like, "Hey, I have a 9 to 5 job or whatever, I want to start my own business. Should I? Am I the right person?" And obviously, we are no experts, right? We are experts in a lot of things, but we don't want to give. Actually, can we say we're experts in this? Or I don't know. Is that like a thing?
Absolutely.
Okay. Uh, just like we're nutritionists, health advice, just
Fitness influencers.
yeah.
We got it pretty much covered. I got
Yeah.
marketing
Okay.
gurus.
Yeah. Marketing. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we could just go down the list. Like pro athlete advice. Just
Race car driver.
guy goes 20 miles over the speed limit. He thinks he's a race car driver.
I've driven on the Autobahn. That qualifies
yeah.
me for anything.
Yeah. So, and you're sitting there, you are running your own business and you're like, is this really me? Because this conversation comes up to me all the time when, I coach agents now, right? And a lot of times, not a lot, but sometimes it's like, I don't think you're in my mind. I don't say it to them, right? I try to just don't think everyone's cut out to run their own business, right? Because why do people originally get into running their own business? They want to start a business because of, I think one of the main reasons, I don't know if you could tell me otherwise, it's freedom, right? I'm free to do what I want, right? But I think one of the main reasons why people get out of business is because of freedom, because you can't run a business, especially in the beginning. Once you've have something created much larger, you obviously can pivot into this. But if you're running your own business, you have to treat it like a job with a lot of overtime.
That's a tough one because you just nailed it. You said the same thing that I was thinking is, okay, you get into business. Oh, it's freedom, not having a boss, not having anything else. But you come to find out the more and more successful you become, the more and more shackled you become by your business.
Bro, everyone that comes into your store is your boss.
Yeah. Man, it's a tough one because you have more bosses as the owner than you do as the employee. My employees are my boss.
Yeah.
It's not a situation where every single person that runs their own business will become Jeff Bezos. And I think that that's an important key to understand is that you're not going to automatically come to a place 5 years into running your own business that you're all of a sudden going to have assistants and employees taking care of everything for you. I think that it's going to take a much longer time to develop a system where you have that, especially in the food business. Now, what I did want to touch up on is people that are trying to start a side hustle while they're in a 9 to 5 to see if this would be a good fit for them. And I find a very, very important value in that because I also did that and I also came from that from that background where not only was I running the family business, but I also started a side hustle that actually did stuff, that actually made money, continues to make money now.
Yeah, like you
So,
grew it. It was small, side hustle, kept growing, growing, growing. Now it's a thing. Now you could, if you wanted to, technically, right? You could leave the family business and go straight into that other business to be your full-time business.
well, that was the problem. That was slightly the problem this past year I had to juggle a lot of my time between the two to the point where I couldn't juggle anymore. It needed to separate. Like I needed to dedicate 2 days out of the week specifically for that, for one business, and then come back to the other one because of my first point. It's okay to start a side hustle, to test it out, to feel it out, etc., and not commit to it 100% just yet. But for it to actually succeed, you will need to commit to it eventually before you find the success in it. Now, with that being said, my first point out of all this was that at the time, this is very, very important. At the time, I was a very, very good multitasker. Now, being a multitasker after, a year or 2 years or 3 years very quickly leads you down the road to burnout. And you eventually come to a place where you're no longer able to process all this information. You start making a ton of mistakes. And the key to running a business properly is not fucking up. Because the moment you start fucking up, and especially when your sales are not, $10 sandwiches, but they're, $500,000 houses or, $50,000 cars, it starts to really eat away at any sort of profitability you have. So my first point is if you're going into it as a side hustle, understand that your multitasking will eventually eat away at your nerves. So that's very, very important to sort of figure out one of your characteristics. If you are one of those people, how long are you going to be able to multitask and treat it like a side hustle without breaking down?
Okay. So we're going off. So because I must have missed the memo of points of top points for characteristics to be. Explain to me your premise here so I could give you my first point.
So like I said, I was a very, very
no, I get I get your point, but what is this? What is the headline of the your point is to what? To like these are the points to be an entrepreneur, like to be a business.
Definitely consider these points. And if you have these characteristics, these are things you need to watch out for, and at the same time consider having, because they will also lead you to success.
Okay. I get it now. So I'm going to give you my first point, and I think maybe the most important. I don't know. I guess as we go through this, everything's going to be probably the most important point. I think the most important characteristic you need to have is a characteristic of going all in mentally, physically, being obsessive, kind of like this is everything you're focused on, right? Like your focus has to be 100% this business. So like if it's real estate, right? You need to know everything about real. You need to know the market. You need to know the different stuff. Like you can't just wing it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. But do you think that it's possible to treat a business as a side hustle? Is a side hustle a business, or is a side hustle just something that you do on the side that you don't take full ownership over?
No, side hustle is fine. You don't need that 100% mentality. I'm saying if you want to convert it to 100%, if you want to go 100% full-time business, entrepreneur, whatever the case, if you want to take your Amazon side hustle into your full-time gig, you got to be obsessive about it.
I see.
You got to go all in.
You can't just treat it as if it's something that makes money. So it doesn't really interest me that much, but I just like doing it because it makes money.
Yeah, something I've realized even more recently, as I, and obviously I've been learning. I obviously didn't think of these things when I was going in, so I've been having to learn as I go, and being a market expert. And obviously, I don't want to say expert because the market changes and there's so much we don't know. But like, the stuff I was sharing with you with last week, knowing that stuff is very important, man. Like if you're in business, you need to know your shit. Like you need to know, like in your business, how much things cost. Like you need to know this stuff. So if it goes up 5 cents, okay, 5 cents, it's up. 5 cents on quantity adds up when you're ordering a bunch of shit. So now it's like, okay, then you got to know your number. You got to you got to know all these things, man. Like, and I think like, where's this stuff come from? Where these tomatoes come from? Is it good? Like, I know your dad probably is freaking just super into that shit where like these tomatoes, because I know I've known your dad so long, just using tomatoes as an example, he would know like the best tomatoes are from here, not this one. Like that's called market knowledge, right?
Yeah, he just recently came across a unique situation where our romaine, the price of our romaine went up from $27 a case to $60 a case.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's been on a tear the last few days trying to find out where else he could be getting romaine from.
Yeah, because that doubles your cost right there.
Yeah. So there's certain things I'm not actually aware of. I don't know what's going on that end, but sorry, I do know what is like very very urgent on that end, and but those small like ordering details, like he'll let me know. But other than that, it's like, yeah, you're right. You got to be on top of your shit. Like if you're just put it this way, if you're just running your business and trying to put it on autopilot, I have a gut feeling that your business is going to probably fail in like 5 years.
Yeah.
Like autopilot never alludes to like, oh, very very successful, very very highly talked about business. There's no such thing.
What about all the people that you see, all the social media people that are like, and some legit like, oh, everything's on autopilot. I'm making money off my Amazon store. My everything is just YouTube channels, this, that, and they're making multiple six figures by just doing nothing all day now.
Are they selling any courses or ebooks about how to make money on
Yeah.
Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that we've been fed a ton of bullshit online, and these guys are there checking out analytics, checking out the best way they could be targeting you back for that same thing, that same course. They make everybody. It's funny because 20 years ago we would also be doing the same shit. Like we would be looking at the same advertisements on TV, get rich
Mhm.
quick,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
same shit. It's just different format
Good
now.
point. Good point. And even for the people thinking, well, real estate, right? You could just have a bunch of investments and have an autopilot and it's just coming to you, right? But I will challenge that because yes, is it possible one day? For sure. But just because that's happening doesn't mean you have to know the market. You need to know everything that's going on in the business. If your rents could go up by $22 between 100 um like units that you own, or you could do something like, oh, I could add a washer dryer in my units, charge an extra $50 a month. That's an extra $5,000 a month. Or is it $5,000? Yeah, $5,000 a month of income you just made. But if you're just on autopilot, you gave up that opportunity because you're just hands off.
Yeah, I don't like this whole autopilot nonsense. Um, so
Next.
next order of business is: do you come from a customer service type background, or if even if you don't, are you a people pleaser? Are you a nice guy? Believe it or not, believe it or not, nice guys are far more successful in business than those guys that are just not nice guys.
And when Audis means nice guys, obviously it could mean nice girls, but there's the book, Mr. Nice Guy, you're referring to, right? Yeah.
Right, right.
Okay. Just want to clarify that for the police.
Nice guy is really is in terms of what this conversation right now. Let's define it as a very fucking needs to please people to like their number one, like 100% satisfaction, or else he can't go to sleep. But other than
And
that,
obviously,
other connotations.
yeah, and it depends what business, right? Because there's some businesses where you could start where you could not even be directly dealing with people. So yeah, there's stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so do you know the number one industry that people come from to get into real estate? The number one successful industry that people like, the industry that the realtors, the successful ones are usually coming from. Do you know what industry it is?
No.
Do you want to take a guess?
Car sales?
No, it's the service industry, waiters, waitresses,
Ah, okay.
bartenders. They become usually the most successful realtors.
Because of their strong customer service skills?
Yeah. And just like the pleasing, because you have to be really good at pleasing your table, your customers, right? Like to get tips and stuff. I think that's one of the reasons, just kind of to piggyback off your.
Yeah, there's a decent amount of ass kissing that's involved in business, and some people, the people that don't come from this place of customer service or people pleasing, they just don't understand. They can't. They won't be able to fulfill the position as well, or you become you become so successful that you don't need to be doing that because your reputation speaks for itself. However, if you're not ass kissing in the very, very beginning of your business or starting your business, there's a strong likelihood that people will feel compelled to also try out your competition, give other people a shot before you. There's like there's no major reason for me to want to give you business if you didn't kiss my ass. Let's be real here. Like, why am I going to buy from the same person that makes me feel like I'm equal to them?
Yeah.
So on the same note, though, you don't want to push it. You don't want to push it too far ends of the spectrum. You just want to do it just enough so that person feels obligated to give you a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the truth. That's just the honest truth. I have a feeling that if you're not kissing ass in the very beginning stages of starting your business, you may not make it that far.
Especially in the service business. If you're
Service business. If you're in the business where you're not even talking to anybody, then that doesn't make that won't make or break your business. Now, the next point was how creative you are. Are you a creative person? How does this have anything to do with business? Right? You might be wondering yourself, how does this have anything to do with business? The more and more creative you are, the more and more opportunities come to you in terms of how you could be advertising your business, how you could be marketing your business, how you could be reaching out to customers, what sort of specials to be running, what sort of sales to be doing, how to be packaging your product. All these different ideas start coming to mind very, very quickly and effortlessly, depending on how creative of a person you are.
Otherwise, you have to outsource it and you have to do all these things and you don't know. It's tough to outsource a lot of things in the beginning because if you don't know what to expect, because if you're not a creative person, then you're just going along with what someone pitches you.
What do you make of this whole creativity thing?
I think it's super important. I think it's very important. Doesn't mean you have to be the most creative person, but I think you have to tap into your creativity. I think you have to spend time on it, right? You have to look at, like, if I'm running an advertisement for your business, it's got to be creative.
Do you think that? Do you think that being next? This is actually going to be my next
Can I
point, but
give you? Can I give a point after?
huh?
Can I give a point after?
No, 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 no. I think it's. You know what? I'm going to save this one, and I'm going to bring it back up. This is also going to be very, very. It's going to be a little bit of like a conversation to be had, but yeah, creativity is something that I think a lot of old school business people lacked,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that after a long time, they realized that their inability to adapt was what put them out of business. These restaurants now, the old school ones that refuse to do takeout,
Yeah.
that shit put them out of business. They weren't. They just weren't creative enough very quickly to be able to make it work for them. Thought that shit would change very, very quickly, and soon found out that they had to close their doors.
Yeah. I think it's a big one. There, you have to, as a business owner, wear a lot of hats. So I think creativity is definitely one of them. So one of my other ones, I don't know what the topic or the headline, the name would be of the characteristic, but interesting story. So me and my business partner, right? We're two different people, right? I'm very trustworthy of everyone, and he's very weary when doing business, right? And very like open-eyed, right? So there's a project. We had a general contractor come out to walk it with us, give us a bid, and as we were going, my business partner is telling him like all these things, like, "Hey, we need this, like plain and simple, no BS." Like he's very very open with what we need, right? But we don't like to play games. So it was a project that should cost $18,000, 17 to $20,000, say 22 because of inflation, $23,000. We were leaving. As we were leaving, the contractor was going to give us a bid. We were leaving. I was like, "All right, cool, man. It went good." He's like, "We're not using them." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "They're going to fuck us on the bid." I'm like, "Nah, bro. Like, he knew, he heard you. You were pretty upfront. You were clear." I'm just very
Positive, open-minded.
positive. And he's like, "No, you'll see." I was like, "Okay, cool." The job max should cost 22,000. I think 17 when I did the numbers in my head. He sends it to him, $40,000.
Why was he trying to fuck you?
And this is where my business partner caught it. So he was like, "Okay, he's like, we need new cabinets." He's like, my business partner was like, "We'll get cabinets from Home Depot." He's like, "We'll get the Home Depot cabinets." He's like, "No, I got a cabinet guy. He's cheaper than Home Depot." Then we were looking at vanities. We're like, "Yeah, we'll go get them from IKEA. We know the deal. We know the price." He's like, "No, I got a vanity guy. It'll be cheaper." After we left, he's like, the fact that he's trying to keep everything in house with his people, he's going to mark us up on that instead of us getting it on our own at a better price. So he's like, "You will see." He's like, "The bid will come high." I was like, "Nah, bro. Like, come on." Like he's getting a deal. I was very, what would you call that?
Uh,
Naive,
Optimistic.
optimistic, naive.
Well,
Where I'm like,
naive.
"Nah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I wouldn't say naive. I would just say you were staying positive. You were just giving him the benefit of the doubt.
yeah." So he came back and the bid was a lot higher. Then he said, "Well, how much do you guys want to pay?" And my business partner was like, "That's not how this works. Like, we're not going to give you we know how much shit should cost. He's like, we're concerned that you came so high." And then he said, "Well, maybe I could do it for 25 to 30." And we're like, "Okay, thank you." And we hung up. So the point of that, right, is you can't be, I don't know, what would you consider that as like a skill or a qualification? Because someone who isn't like my business partner could get screwed.
I think you got to know the market very, very well and understand. what what things should be costing and how much how much room there is for you to actually
But
succeed.
I think it's deeper. I think it's a characteristic. I think it's more um it's an innate quality to like know when you're getting jerked a little bit or know like how to deal with others. So like if you're B2C business to customer, it's different. You're going to act differently. But B2B, business to business, where it's like your wholesalers, you're buying stuff, you got to be a little bit tough, right? You
Okay.
can't just be, because you guys deal with probably people who connections, right? That you guys buy stuff off of.
Yeah. Um, but I mean, put it this way: there's different ways of doing things, Sean. You, on the other hand, it'd be nice if everybody was like your business partner, or if everybody was like my dad, where like all of a sudden you kind of just feel it happening. But I mean, what if like that it shouldn't cost more than $25,000? You were thinking between 17 and 22.
Yeah.
So when you got the 40 grand back, it's not like you were doing anything wrong when you guys left off. It's just you didn't know in the back of your mind that automatically this guy was going to give you a $40,000 quote. Your business partner sensed it.
Yeah. But the thing is, let's say I got him down to 22, just say.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, what if we get him? And he's like, and he broke it down. It made a lot of sense. He's like, do we really want to go into business with this person?
Fuck no.
That is dishonest. You know, that is like, where would he's not pumping us now. He actually wanted to pump the numbers. So at what point is he going to do that? So it's kind of like taking the emotion out of it, I guess, and be like, oh, I like this guy. He seems like a really nice guy. I want to make it work. So like taking the emotion out of it and the likability of someone and be like, this is in the future going to screw us.
Was he an actual really nice guy?
Yeah, he was so nice, like very nice.
Would you rather have him been a dick?
No, another thing he realized, he's like every point of the way when I said, hey, let's do this, he said yes, 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 yes. We've had experience with other contractors, really good ones. Well, they're like, no, you don't want to do this. We could save you money here. We could try this. This is cheaper product. Put this here, right? This guy was like, yes, 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 yes. So he was a nice guy, but he wasn't looking out for our interest, which we told him we are okay with you making money. We just need to be transparent with where that's coming from.
Let me ask you a question. So let's run it backwards though. Let's say he was a dick and he was just being brutally honest with you up front and he wanted to charge you guys 25K.
Mm-hmm.
Would you guys have like appreciated that more? Or did you guys need him to be sort of like cool?
No, it doesn't matter. So
Because
like,
we're like that sometimes.
yeah.
At our like place, like my dad. Same with me, by the way. Say I've become very good at that. Like I'm just tort now. Be very very quick. Like if you start off the conversation with I have a wedding I need catered. I might be like, okay, yeah, hi, hey, how's everything? You know what I mean? Like just like be a little bit softer, but like, oh, I have an office catering. All right, when? Yeah, we can do it cheap. Okay, yeah, go. I turn into Gary V, and it's just if you're gonna get the best price out of somebody, there's like that toss up to be had. Like, do you
Well,
want
it's not just price? Like, and Dick, if he was a dick and had the lower price, because we were looking to build a relationship with someone, right, to go to do bigger things with. So it's like, I need to be able to trust them. And if you lost my trust, if you were a dick but trustworthy, that's okay. Because we don't need to be best friends as long as it's not disrespectful, right? Like but if you're just trying to be nice to fuck me later, no, it's So
douche.
yeah, so that is one quality that, that's, one quality I respect from my business partner a lot, where he just has that, where he could foreshadow things and see things coming, I guess, right? As a characteristic. So that would be one. And the other one I would say that kind of ties in, and you could go on your next one. You got to have thick skin, man. You got to really, really have thick skin.
Tell me a
Um,
little bit about that. What do you mean? Do you mean your ego? You got to not have an ego?
so it depends what business you're into, right? Because it can mean a lot of different things. Real estate, you need thick skin. A lot of people are going to say no to you, right? You're going to get a lot of rejection, right? Because we are not doing volume of like 18,000 people coming to me a year to buy something from me, right? It's 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, 100 if you're a super crazy real estate agent. So you're going to get told no a lot. So you need thick skin.
How do you handle rejection?
Once I started realizing it's not them rejecting me, and it's more a product, it's more lack of me communicating well, it's stuff that like it's they could reject me as my service, but it's not because I am a terrible human or I suck or I'm not meant for this. I've just realized not everyone is going to get along with me and want to work with me. I don't have the personality that's going to be right. So someone could be very bubbly and very excited, right? They're going to attract clients who like that. I wouldn't want to work with a real estate agent who's very bubbly and thing. That's just me. I want someone more serious, more numbers driven. And that's how I kind of am. So some people who are bubbly are not going to want to work with me. And I've just realized it's okay. Now, if you're in your industry, you need thick skin. If someone says, "Oh, your chickens like taste like shit," right? Which that kind of like you made this, right? You physically put your heart into like the recipe, all this stuff, and someone say it sucks, kind of hurts,
Yeah, it's like
right?
blow your ego.
Or if an employee that you've poured in for years, that you in your mind you had this vision they're going to come through, like they're going to grow into this position, they're going to be a manager, they're going to blah blah blah, and then one day they leave and they say I'm going to the competitor. You need thick skin to handle that.
Yeah, I've come to realize that I I tend to handle rejection a lot worse now than I was before. I don't know why.
Really,
Yeah,
really. What
because
do
you
you think?
develop an ego. You develop a
Oh,
really, really strong ego now. When you're developed in business, when you got like a strong reputation and a track record, any attempt after a while, and like you don't take many blows. You know what I mean? Like it's like the out of shape boxer.
you get hit once and
Yeah, you get hit once, you're like the nerve on it.
like, do they know who I am?
I have the best. I have the best shaman in Boston. Is he fucking stupid? You know. So it's just, but if you're not taking enough blows to your ego,
That's a good one. And I
uh,
guess in real estate we take a lot of blows, so I guess we get used to it.
yeah, you might
Yeah.
develop. You might have developed like an immunity to it after a little while. But try to go a year or two without. You know, see how that makes you feel when you get like a no for the first time. You're just like, why would he say no? Like what?
So
Um,
yeah, I think tough skin is important though, man, because it's hard, man. It's a hard thing to run a business. Like I don't know if you've read Elon Musk's book. His businesses were going to go out of, I know we talked about it last week or 2 weeks ago. Where we talked about books, like the toughness he had to just stick it out when everyone told him, no, stop, you're done, you're shit. And he just kept going. There's not many people like that, man, in this world, I think.
yeah, that is a very very strong quality to have. But the only thing is how do you know? How do you know if you're if you should continue after a rejection, or if you should strongly consider
Hmm.
what you were rejected for. I think that every rejection comes with a very, very good lesson. Some rejections are going to teach you a lesson. They're really not. They're just going to, it's not so much that there's, again, it's not so much that there's something wrong with you, but understanding where the other person is also coming from. I think that a lot of people will take a rejection and not fully understand what brought upon that rejection. And I think that that it's not so much that they don't have thick skin, but they just don't have the motivation to understand why. They don't have the motivation enough to want to overcome the rejection.
So let me ask you this: thick skin, right? Talking about that, and when do you know to keep going? Let me ask you a question. Your YouTube channel, your videos, you post a lot, right? You're heavy a couple of years ago, and you got a lot of noise from people, close friends, family, that, hey man, you're kind of annoying. Like, stop with these stuff. Like, how did you handle that and not, like, because it took some thick skin to fight through. So, like, talk about that part a little bit.
So even more than getting criticized for posting so much and doing this whole thing, even more worrisome than what that was like, it was more worrying to me thinking, if I stop now and give up,
What are they
what
going to?
are they going to say now? So, like, I didn't have any other choice.
Mm.
Like, one way is going to be better than the other way. You either keep going and be persistent and hope to God you prove them wrong, or you just give up and prove them right. So I think it's very, very important to know before you start how much you believe in what you're talking about and if it can actually make a difference in in the market. That's why it's super, super important. This next concept is could you be the best at whatever you think that you're about to embark on? That's one of my very last and most important things, because I fully, wholeheartedly believe that I make the very best shawarma sandwich in Boston, possibly in New England. You could quote me on that. I said that.
Hmm.
How many people have you heard say something as strongly as what I just said with regard to how strongly they believe how good they are in their business? And not just shawarma. I make some fucking unbelievable kebab too. But let's just say shawarma for right now.
And I know you believe it. I do know you believe it.
It's a fucking fact.
Now, now the person who does believe it, let's say someone could say, well, you're being cocky. You're being, you're just, because it's yours, you think it's the best. Like, what would you say to that?
I think that if you could understand where I'm coming from, our store again, is not the prettiest, most picturesque place to come to when it comes to like restaurants.
Yeah.
You're not coming there for that. You're not coming there for the exceptional customer service. A couple of our employees don't even speak English. There really is nothing else that you're coming for except for the food. I didn't say I pride myself on having the prettiest restaurant in Boston.
Yeah, you don't have an ambiance when you walk into that place.
By the way, we're working on now. A lot of money right now,
Okay.
just waiting to get. There's no contractors, though. Everybody wants to charge fucking $50K as opposed to 20, which is driving me nuts. But like I said, I have multiple things where I'm not cocky about. but I
But you
know that my
believe in it.
product stands way taller. I have confidence in my product enough to know that I could be doing a couple other things very poorly, and my product, the thing that matters at the most at the end of the day, will keep me above water. So
So
that was going to be one of my major
big.
points is
So
how strongly you believe in your product.
to go back when you asked me why didn't Elon Musk quit, he probably felt his product is the best and it's going to win no matter what. So you need to have that belief, right? And actually stand behind it like you do. Because if things go bad at Ani Takeout, you're not going to give up because you're like, no, this is the best shawarma. Like there is no reason for me to stop.
No,
So
I'm in this shit for the long haul. I'm
yeah,
not. I'm
but
not
that's
going
so
for
to
that.
your when you asked about the Elon Musk thing, I think that's where it comes from. It's being confident to know this is the best um, product, right? Best service, best software, best whatever you're into. It has to be the best. You have to really feel it. Um, I think that's a really good point. Now, can I talk to you to pivot real quick, if that's okay?
Let me just check to see if we have enough time. Yeah, we're
Real
good.
quick, yeah. Entrepreneur versus intrapreneur. Do you know what intrapreneur means?
I was just about to ask you. Can you just give me a refresher? What?
So obviously everyone knows what an entrepreneur means. Intrapreneur is someone who is a number two or number three or number four in a company and is basically like has a really high level position in the company and runs it like a business, but is not the business owner, right? So I think one characteristic when we're talking about this, it's being self-aware and saying, do I want to be the number one, right? Do I want all the pressure in this? Is my heart in this? Do I want, because you have a lot of pressure, right? Would you, because like someone like you could say, well, you know what, maybe I'll go work for a really top end restaurant, be the general manager, run it. That's an entrepreneur, which is a very, very tough job and a very, it's a high rewarding job at a high top restaurant. So that's an entrepreneur. They get to run it like how they want. They're in charge, but they're not the top stress level because they get to go home and it's done, right? So why did I take the position of being a team lead within this team? I thought to myself, I'm like, in real estate sales, do I want to be an entrepreneur or intrapreneur? It was more intrapreneur. I want to run it like my own under someone, right? Still have benefits, still as far as like the benefits of like high income, the benefits of, just the flexibility of being an entrepreneur, all that stuff, but without being the number one risk taker in this, because my heart is not 100% in that portion of it. In the real estate investing side, I'm 100% entrepreneur, and that's 100% where I will be, not an entrepreneur. So does that make sense, the difference?
Yeah. So your question is, which one would I pick?
No, like I think that's something people should reflect on.
And to your point, I think that if you want to get a good taste of your industry and not taking the full plunge and responsibility into it, is maybe working your way up and seeing exactly how that works. Because the best way to succeed is already knowing sort of what to expect and how to run. And if you want to do that in a sense without taking much risk, do it for somebody else first, like a lot of people do.
Yeah.
When it comes to like restaurant businesses or stuff like that, people work under people all the time until they feel like they're ready. Barbers before they open up a barber shop.
Yeah, and there's nothing, I don't think there's anything to be, because everyone wants to be an entrepreneur now. I don't think there's anything wrong with being an entrepreneur.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
I think
People working at body shops before they, you know.
yeah, but if you're running that body shop, but like under someone, you're basically an entrepreneur within a company that's an entrepreneur. Like I have the flexibility and freedom to run my team within the lot and team how I want to run it within guidelines, right? And within like certain stuff, but I get to be free. I don't have someone really like telling me, "Oh, where are you at? You called out sick today." It's none of that. I'm my own, but it's under someone who else, the person George Lyon, he's the one taking the risk.
And how does that make you feel?
I love it.
Do you think that having a little bit, an additional layer of oversight keeps you a little bit less stressed out?
Yes. 100%.
Do you think that helps you work a little bit a little bit better?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, because in the real estate investing side, it's a lot more stress because it's all 100% on us. Like we're risking everything, right? There's no one else risking.
I think that would be the cleanest possible way to get into business is being an entrepreneur before you become a business owner.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with being number 2 or 3 at Microsoft, right? Like the what's the LA Clippers owner? What's his name? Steve Ballmer. He didn't own Microsoft, but he was the C. Like he was just underneath, right? Still a billionaire, right? Still ran it how he wanted to, but it wasn't his that he's risky, right? So it's just I think it's going to be a bigger wave now, entrepreneurship, where you get the freedom to do it under someone else. Like one day, if you guys grow big enough, you'll have an entrepreneur being the general manager. They'll have their own freedom. They'll have their own way of doing things within your guidelines. But I think that's going to be the future for entrepreneurs that don't want to take the full risk.
Do you think that a lot of companies are now allowing for that? Allowing
I think
for
so. I think so. I think the smart ones are.
I'm weary. I'm weary of letting somebody get a little bit too intimately involved in our business.
Well, now, but so this is where it's going to change, or it has to if. So like our company's doing 3,000 transactions. The team lead, the owner, can't be fully involved anymore. To grow that large, which is it's the number 5, we're the number 5 largest team in the country as far as how many homes we sell in the country, right? At some point you have to let go and let people run it so you could grow. Now, if you want 2, 3, 4, 5 restaurants, yeah, you're going to have your thumb on it, pretty much a lot of stuff. But if you want to grow to 100, let's just say, at some point you're going to have to like have someone. That's what I'm talking about. The big companies.
I don't know, man. I don't even know anymore if I want that many restaurants. I don't even know if I want more than one.
And that's another thing we didn't talk about, and we can maybe another day. Like, at what point is it like enough growth where it's like, hey, I'm just going to like focus on this?
After the pandemic, bro, I don't even know. I could give you multiple points from either side right now.
Yeah.
It was a scary thing to watch unfold.
Yes. Yeah. And yeah, it's these are things as a business owner keeps you up at night, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. Multiple discussions have been had about where to put money. This past year, 2 years ago, I was like moments away from signing a lease on a second store. I was very, very convinced that I was going down that path of opening up multiple stores. And I started to see some very, very shitty behavior start to happen where like landlords were doing things short term to keep you happy, but like do it in a way to try and fuck you after 5 years. Like had I not had my dad, I would have signed that thing been very successful there, got slapped with a stupid lease 5 years later.
But
Uh, so
now
yeah,
that is the thing, like my business partner with seeing this coming, you know, you guys saw that like, hey, landlords are being a little thing, contractors are being, this guy's doing this. So it's like you start second guessing instead of like, no, it'll be okay.
no,
Yeah.
my dad is not a big fan of the whole "it'll be okay" thing. Uh,
Yeah, I know. But you
you know,
need that. And that's a characteristic because that could have crippled you guys.
yeah, he was trying to weasel. He was trying to do it the other way around too. He was like, "Yeah, tell her no problem. I'll sign a 5 year lease with her. I'll do it under a new LLC. Um, no security deposit." Like he was
Yeah,
starting he was back. It was just like I'm just gonna fucking table this for the next year, man. And then now I don't even know, man. I don't even know if I want a second place. I just want a really, really nice first place.
yeah. And maybe we should talk about that. When do you grow? When do you, not you, just like in general in business,
Yeah,
when?
I don't mind. I'll talk about it. I'll tell you sort of what's holding me back. Um, that'll give you some idea as far as like successful place. Why aren't you opening up a second? I'll tell you all my hesitations, my reservations. You know,
Yeah. Well, that was interesting.
yeah, man. There's a ton of stuff, dude. Everybody thinks that they could run a business. Everybody now wants to like become an entrepreneur and like sell some shit online, side hustle this and that. Dude, it takes a while. You can't just overnight start an Amazon fucking store. Like these companies keep on saying that you can. It's not easy. It really isn't easy. So anyway, yeah, just some quick quick characteristics of what a business person should have, or just know that these sort of things are important to possess before you find yourself in a shitty situation.
Yeah. And take it from us, guys. We are business experts. Join our course. We have an online course coming to you guys.
99 on
Yeah.
sale.
Yeah. It's on sale right now. Use promo code Shant and Ari podcast.
So
The
yeah,
day we start selling stuff on this podcast, you guys should really start getting worried.
we'll still give you a promo code though. Anyway, all right.
All right.
Good night, Sean.
Good night, everyone.